Hey guys, so lately I have been working on my codependency, and I figured some of the things I've come across is worth sharing with you guys. Hopefully it will be helpful. It was for me. It actually opened a door of a new direction of doing research and therapy work on my own, so maybe it'll do the same for you. I came across well, let's get into it. I need to start making transitions in these videos because eventually I'll edit them and I'll have like text and like a flash and transitions, and it'll be smooth and like professional. But anyway, I came across a podcast channel titled Codependency No More, and the interview I listened to was with Dr. Tian Dayton. I'll just say Dr. Dayton for the sake of this video. And the title is Adult Children of Alcoholics Trauma Syndrome. Now, this is something very new to me, but it definitely struck close to home. It's this idea that if you grew up in a household with alcoholism or any addiction, that naturally there will be some trauma for you, and you may have some self-soothing or coping mechanisms that are unhealthy, and that would be our various forms of addiction and codependency, things of that nature. So one of the things that really stood out to me in listening to this podcast was the fact that codependency is a continuum. That was like really eye-opening for me. Dr. Dayton uses the example of being overly concerned or overly worried for her children and her grandchildren, and how for her that relates to her childhood and some of the trauma there. And so she'll be the extreme or closer to the extreme of a caregiver, and not really trust them to survive on their own or make decisions on their own and things like that. And I definitely can relate to that from my childhood into the way I manage my relationships with people, and also the people that I attract and how they manage their relationships with me. I've made previous videos about the whole accountability buddy gone toxic and the need to fix people and not trust that they have their own innate ability to come to revelations and breakthroughs, and that we instead have to save them from themselves or things in their lives instead of supporting them through that journey. Looking back and being at home, I realized that is a huge part of my family system, and that I internalized that. And so it puts me on the extreme end of caregiving in my relationships. And part of it is just having a good heart, but part of it is just your own sickness, your own fear of uncertainty, letting go, fear of abandonment and rejection and things of that nature. So that would be like more of the lower scale. And then the more extreme, I'm guessing, would be like the toxic relationships. For me, there's this tendency that the person that is hurting me the most or causing the most distress in my life to also be the person I seek for comfort. And that goes way, way back to my childhood and the trauma of dealing with an alcoholic in the household. You may be able to relate to, there will be times where you wouldn't know what to expect, times where you are the problem, where you were verbally, physically, emotionally abused, and that in return, this abuser would be calm and expect to have good rapport, even a friendship with you, and you would have to transition your mood into being whatever they want, or it will create another explosion, so to speak. And so you learn very young to be coddled or comforted by the person that is hurting you. And I've internalized that, and the relationship that I'm trying to release, that's a huge problem, because instead of being upset about things I should be upset about or letting go and creating healthy boundaries, there is a need to be consulted for this transition, the pain of letting go, or the pain of what this person has done to me, by being held by them or comforted by them or being in communication with them. And so I feel that it's the same for that person as well. So that's weird, but I'm happy to have those dots connected that it stems from my childhood. So I made the very conscious decision of doing trauma therapy because I just feel like it's necessary. I feel like I agree that when you don't address your issues with the personality type or your issues with pain within you, that you continue to attract the same experiences because you haven't learned that lesson. It's kind of like making the same mistake over and over again because you don't have something doesn't click. And so all of a sudden you have this epiphany, or you come to terms with something and you can manage it differently because you're able to think differently, therefore behave differently. So I know I need to do some trauma therapy to work through those things from my childhood. And I think that it makes a lot of sense after listening to this podcast about adult children of alcoholics trauma syndrome. So if you struggle with codependency, any form of addiction, goodness, I don't even know what else to think of, because codependency and addiction cover a broad array of things. I definitely suggest you go check out this podcast. I'm interested in purchasing Dr. Dayton's book about, I think it's emotional regulation. One second, let me pull it up on my laptop. I like audiobooks the most right now because reading, sometimes I hypnotize myself because, okay, this is weird. I'm not going to explain all of that. But a lot of people, sometimes we hypnotize ourselves. So instead of being able to process what we're reading, we're not really reading. But audiobooks, I stay engaged with that. And I can always rewind things when I realize that my mind is drifted. So I want that audiobook. Well, let me go to my wish list, and I'm wasting this video. I apologize. It sucks because I'm going to have to re-record because I don't really edit my videos right now. Okay, my wish list. All right, so it is titled Emotional Sobriety. I'm going to read a little bit about it to you guys. So it says here, do you use substances or engage in compulsive activities to regulate your mood? Yes. Do you reach for something sweet, a couple of drinks, or a pack of cigarettes after a difficult day because you can't unwind without them? Do you race to the store to spend away the day's frustration, or run around in circles taking more time to get less done? If these self-defeating habits sound familiar, emotional sobriety will shed light on why and how these coping mechanisms threaten your health and impact your resilience. When we manage the stresses of the day by turning to outside mood managers such as food, sex, work, shopping, gambling, drugs, alcohol, rather than healthier forms of self-soothing, it is because we lack emotional sobriety, the state of processing our thoughts efficiently to bring our emotions into balance, says best-selling author and renowned addiction psychologist Dr. Tian Dayton, PhD. All right, so I'm not going to read any further, but you get the gist of it. I am extremely interested in listening to this audiobook because I'm sure it'll be a transition before, therapy really starts to hit home on these things, maybe even a month of getting in with a therapist that I prefer. So I still want to do the work because I'm definitely in a stressful situation where a lot of these issues and trauma is like re-arising, and if gone addressed, I might go back to self-soothing that isn't so healthy, and I'm trying to keep these things manageable and recover. So yes, this is a long video. I'm gonna post it anyway. I hope it was helpful, and just comment below that you hate me or something like that, because I took that long break. But you got a gem, which is the book Emotional Sobriety, and you learn a little bit more about Dr. T. And I can't talk, but that's fine because my heart is in the right place. All right, so be encouraged. Comment if this alcoholic adult children of alcoholics trauma syndrome hits home with you, because I'm curious to know what about it stands out to you, especially if you listen to the audio podcast. Sorry. All right, bye. Be encouraged.